These are headlines in today. CES 2026 shows Tesla is the legacy company now, kind of like old news basically, with little hope of leading in anything. Now, I would actually push back because I think Tesla can lead in some things, and that would be basically false promises. This is for coming from Bloomberg. Tesla is swapping its EV crown for even more false promises. So basically, they're getting crushed in sales. Check this out. This is Jensen Huang of NVIDIA.
CPO? Okay, all right, come here. Now one of the things that's really, you have Jetsons. They have little Jetson computers inside them. They're trained inside Omniverse. And how about this? Let's show everybody the simulator that you.
And so basically what you got Jensen out in his shiny jacket, tennis shoes, and showing off some gear. And this whole thing destroys Elon Musk's thesis because basically Elon Musk is rotating from cars and saying, oh, we're going to be a robotics and AI company. But there's already a lot of competition in that space and you're getting crushed in cars. This is the news then today. Tesla's full 2025 data from Europe is in, and it is a total bloodbath. They're getting crushed in Europe. So you guys are doing your part in Europe. So I think you can do much better because the aggregate, the total is sales for Tesla are only down 27.8%. We got to bump that up to 100. Most of the countries, basically all of them except for one, sales are declining for Tesla. The only one that's positive is Norway. I think they have more tax credits and benefits for EVs as a whole because they promote that stuff. But if Norway ever decides to get rid of said credits, then Tesla's completely over in all of Europe. That's literally, I mean, you can see the numbers right there. Multiple countries are down big. You have these kind of headlines then. Tesla's Germany car sales dropped by almost half in December. And this is year over year. And I know the Tesla fanboys and fangirls, they'll be crying. It was, oh no, everything's fine. It's just that people don't want to buy cars. I disagree. It's just they don't want to buy your car, the Tesla, because it's out of date. This even says here that basically BYD sales are going up, right? Tesla BYD killer sees record-breaking sales results in UK. On top of that, I want to show you a little bit more of what NVIDIA's Jensen Huang is up to. Let's have a watch.
LG over here, they just announced a new robot. Caterpillar, they've got the largest robots ever. That one delivers food to your house. That's connected to Uber Eats. And that's Surf Robot. I love those guys. Agility, Boston Dynamics. There's a sketch.
And the reason why this is important, guys, is he's showing look at all these different companies with robots and such. The way the Tesla fanboys and fangirls act like that. Elon Musk is the only person in the world and Tesla's the only company in the world. Good luck with that. And even at CES, I mean, I'm, constantly always surprised at new stuff that I see. I think some of the stuff, say food delivery, farming equipment, any number of things, and little robots, big robots, right? Robots that don't necessarily have to take the full humanoid thing is going to be the future. I don't disagree, actually. I think automation is just going to keep coming because that's what companies want, as we talk about several times in this channel. I think you guys kind of know it too. Also, they were showing this little robot here, and it's got kind of your AI, how can I say it, integrated in it. So you'll be able to ask it questions and stuff like that. And these things will become more and more useful as they go. And ultimately, there's going to be, how can I say, a moment when the stuff becomes affordable. Because I think right now, probably one of the holding back things of this would be, why I would say batteries, the power, all the stuff, because we need more electricity, materials to buy the stuff. Will the demand be there? But I think cost is going to be a big one. Can you make these things affordable? Now, Jensen's now going to talk about full self-driving, or we're going to call auto driving for his cars. So take a look at this.
And generate surround video that is physically based and physically plausible that the AI can now learn from.
The ChatGPT moment for physical AI is nearly here. But the challenge is clear. The physical world is diverse and unpredictable.
And so what they were saying is you're getting close to where, the driving stuff or whatever, the AI, what do you say, the AI, ChatGPT moment, physical AI, I think is what they're referring to. The ChatGPT moment, meaning that when everyone starts to pay attention is close. And that might be true. The big one though is going to be cost, because one, need to get the technology to work, and two, get the cost to be affordable. But NVIDIA getting into the game heavily really, really hurts Elon Musk and Tesla, because remember, Elon tries to tell you he's the only game in town, but he's getting crushed in sales on cars, tries to go to robots, and I wouldn't doubt NVIDIA. I mean, I wouldn't. I tested NVIDIA's Tesla full self-driver and competitor. Tesla should be worried 100%, right? And you got stuff like this, and this is why the stock has been moving down for Tesla. Tesla shares fall on market concerns about autonomous driving competition from NVIDIA. You also have this, Mobileye, which is yet more competition. Latest win is another rejection of Tesla's self-driving approach. And the biggest problem really with Tesla is they trying to do it cheap. Elon's cheap, cut corners. He doesn't care about safety. He's trying to do it cameras only. And all the other companies are like, you know what? We're going to put sensors in these things. We want to keep people safe. If we're going to do it, make sure it's safe. Take a look at what Jensen has to say about like when these things may be coming out.
But every single car will have autonomous vehicle capability. Every single car will be AI powered. And so the model layer in this case is Alpamayo, and the application above that is the Mercedes-Benz. Okay, and so this entire stack is our first NVIDIA first entire stack endeavor. And we've been working on it for this entire time, and I'm just so happy that
So I knew they were doing something with this, but I didn't realize it was like, yo, you're going to be able to buy it like pretty soon. The Mercedes CLA, and they said this is the 2025 here. Listen to hear some more about this.
the first AV car from NVIDIA is going to be on the road in Q1, and then it goes Europe in Q2, here in the United States in Q1, then Europe in Q2, and I think it's Asia in Q3 and Q4. And the powerful thing is that we're going to keep on updating it with next versions of Alpamayo and versions after that. This car just got rated. It just went to production. The Mercedes-Benz CLA was just rated by NCAP, the world's safest car.
So I think they're level 2 at the moment. I think the level 5, and when you talk about autonomous driving, would be like the full one where you don't need a human and the thing can drive in any condition. Level 4 is kind of where everyone's trying to race to where you can have it drive in certain conditions. I think, as I describe it. But right now they're aiming, I think they're at level 2. That's where a lot of these things are. And they're probably going to get better if you're willing to spend the money and do the time and hire the right people, which I wouldn't necessarily doubt NVIDIA can do. I still think we're still a ways away, but the point I'm trying to make, though, is that Tesla's clearly not the leader in this stuff at all. And also, I wanted to make the point, whenever I make these kind of videos, the Tesla people are always like, oh, Chris, you just hate technology and stuff like that. No, actually, I don't. I actually like technology quite a bit. That's why I talk about it. But I just want to point out more than one company. There's way more than just Tesla. And the problem with Elon is it's like he doesn't care about people, and he tries to buy off the government so that we don't look into the damage that his vehicles and company does. So, for example, this just came out today. Tesla accused of killing family plus their dog by steering vehicle head on into oncoming semi truck. This is horrifying. I agree. And the basic gist they're going to make here is that Tesla falsely advertises the ability of their products, which is something they've done for quite a long time. You also have this. Elon Musk teases extreme performance Tesla Roadster, says safety is, quote, not the main goal. And that's always been for Elon Musk and Tesla. Basically, their main goal is to pump up the stock. And when they put out a product, cut corners, right, to keep the cost down and charge you a bunch of money for overvalued junk, basically what it ends up being. And there's just so much more value you can get in other company stuff. You also have this. They promise you robotaxis, but it says Tesla has an issue with its Cybercab trademark thanks to a comical error from the company. So I guess another company has a trademark on that. So not only do you have NVIDIA now basically getting into the autonomous car space, you got Boston Dynamics and Hyundai, and it's quite interesting. Hyundai really put their branding on Boston Dynamics at CES here. Take a look at this.
So as you can see, Atlas really does stand up the way that we show in our videos online. And we get tons of questions about this. Zach, while we have everyone here, do you want to provide a little bit of insight into how we made that decision?
I mean, it's pretty simple. Atlas doesn't have to move like a person does, and we're looking for the most stable, efficient way to get up, and it turns out this is it.
The other question we get all the time is how Atlas is moving. How is Atlas moving today?
So in normal operation, Atlas is fully autonomous on a job site, but today, Sarvesh, one of our FAEs, is piloting Atlas on the stage, giving it really simple instructions like forwards and backwards, just to keep things simple. This is Atlas's first time in public, and as you can see, its walk is pretty natural and pretty smooth. We've partnered with our sister organization, the Robotics and AI Institute, to push the limits on natural walking just for this performance. And I think we've done something really special. We've also been at this robotics thing for a while, and we've learned that there's more to it than just copying nature. We can pick the best parts of what nature has to offer and do better in others. So as you can see, Atlas here has joints that can move 300.
So yeah, and they're going to say joints that move 360 degrees. I wouldn't bet against Boston Dynamics or Hyundai in the robotic space. And also there's a whole bunch of Chinese companies that are going to get in this space as well. Let me show you more of what Hyundai's got planned. This is their what I call it, their video that they put out from the CS in Las Vegas. This is to show you the environment and also the lines. I mean, people are interested in this stuff. You can see people are lining up, you know. And when you go to these kind of stuff, they have the stuff there. You can see it move around. To me, the tech looks real. It's very different than Elon Musk and stuff like that, because they do robots show and stuff like that in China. And sometimes Elon Musk and Tesla will show up there, but they'll literally just have the robot sitting in a glass case, won't be moving at all. Whereas everyone else has got their robots, you know, doing demos. Boston Dynamics, they got the dog robots, they got the human robots, and that's like the older designs. I think this stuff is real. Again, it's always still going to be on cost, but in terms of like design, like say a robotic arm, it doesn't have to be a human, right? Like this arm thing for boxes. I mean, I'm sure that's where we're going to go. They have these really cool like little cart thingies there. I think probably Amazon warehouses would use that kind of stuff. Just ways of moving stuff around. Now, I also want to be practical with you guys. I know these are sensitive topics because some of these things will ultimately replace human jobs. I'm just being honest with you about that stuff. So people will certainly, you know, give pushback on that. And I always tell you the truth on that stuff. But I do think there's going to be some uses. I like how they're doing it with, you know, connecting it to people to keep people involved, because the whole exoskeleton thing could be a thing. But, you know, in some situations, like I'll just give you an example, like when you see these kind of robot cars, yeah, there may be uses for, say, deliveries and stuff like that. I could totally see that kind of thing where you maybe have a UPS driver load up a truck and then the drones or whatever go out. Why not? And then that's sort of ways to move cars. I think it's pretty clever. I mean, yeah, you can see right there. The tech is pretty cool. And I've seen this stuff before. We went to an auto show here in Korea in Busan, and we saw a lot of this, you know, Hyundai stuff or Kia stuff. And I always say the same thing, guys. Like, these are real companies. They got real stuff. And they acquired Boston Dynamics, if you don't know. So that's why the Hyundai branding is everywhere. Usually they don't brand so much, so strongly, but I guess they decided to do it this year. I also want to show you a bit of Honda and what they're up to. Let's take a look.
The cabin space, Afira challenges the traditional concept of in-cabin entertainment, creating content design to move you. Through collaboration with diverse partners, Afira brings you movies.
Now, I'll be frank with you guys. This was like a Honda and Sony thing, and their presentation wasn't that good. I mean, frank, I'm just showing you a bit. It was kind of weird because they kept focusing on like movies and games and entertainment, which in my opinion was kind of strange to talk with a car. I don't know how many people really want to play games and watch movies in their car, but that's kind of the angle they're taking. Watch a little bit more, you'll see what I'm saying.
Can extend beyond the living room in ways that feel natural and useful for gaming fans. We hope players will enjoy the new way to access some of the best games this generation has to offer, including Astro Bot, God of War Ragnarok, and Ghost of Yotei. And 2026 will be one of the best years yet for players, with highly anticipated games like Resident Evil Requiem, Marathon.
Yeah, and I like games, but I just thought it was strange that they were combining like, hey, we got this partnership and like games and stream media in the car. I wouldn't necessarily bet against Honda or Toyota. I think they're great and reliable cars. They have been for years, but I'm just showing you, what I'm seeing here. They call this thing the Feely. I don't know. I was not feeling it, even though I called it the Afeela. Take a look at this. Just take a look for yourself.
You'll experience even more customers across the U.S.
We anticipate the start of delivery to customers in California late this year. For the Japanese market, we plan to begin deliveries in the first half of 2027. But there's more to tell you. The way we are fusing diverse technologies to deliver a completely novel mobility experience is not limited to a single model.
So that's kind of what they were going for. They're calling it, mobility, integrating technologies. I don't mind the designs of these things, actually, and I'd be curious your thoughts, but I don't know. The presentation, they were really focused on the games, entertainment stuff, and I just thought that was a weird thing to go with, but that's them. I'm actually curious how Toyota's going to come out as well. I wouldn't bet against either of these, and I also wouldn't bet against the German brands. They're going to come out with cool stuff as well. I like to look at all the stuff, and I also want to mention Rivian. Every now and then someone in the community says, like, I'm going to buy a Rivian and stuff like that. I've heard good things about them, but I think Rivian's problem is they can't produce enough of those things. It's tough, right? Car manufacturing is not an easy thing to do. And then you talk about what Tesla's going on, because I want to talk a bit about this, how Tesla's completely failing. This is Elon Musk, right? AI. The mother of one of Elon Musk's children says his AI bot won't stop creating images of her, right? Basically, how you want to put it. I'll just say this. When you take someone's real photo and manipulate it in a way that creates adult content, not cool. And that's something that Elon's like, I'm a free speech person. You can, do children or anything that you want. And seriously, it's been a problem with children and that kind of image, that kind of content. UK government urges Elon Musk to address, quote, appalling Grok AI deepfakes. And then you're going to get in the issues of, if, Elon Musk, he thinks it's fine if you make fake videos of, and you can even fake people's voice these days, basically just putting out whatever crap out there that you want. And, it can be very, very harmful to society if you just like fake stuff. I hope you guys understand the seriousness of these things. Any number of stuff, one is like people feel like they feel the phrase that I've been hearing, women will say, I feel violated if you, use my image to, manipulate and to have me doing stuff I didn't do, that kind of stuff. But it could be used for any number of things, not just the, not safe for work kind of content. I'll just give you a simple one. Like you could make a fake broadcast of a news program and make it seem like there's an event happening that didn't happen. That was actually in CNBC News today. I saw that on Elon Musk's platform, there's all these fake videos out there regarding what's going on Venezuela. So do be careful out there with the stuff that you see, because AI, it is getting, more realistic. And despite all these crazy things, Elon Musk is still raising money. Elon Musk XAI raises $20 billion in new round of funding. So basically he's getting out of Tesla and trying to do that.
It's all about the oil, stupid. That's part of the headline of a new piece by our first guest, Mehdi Hasan, the founder of the online news site Zeteo. In the piece, Hasan details how President Trump's repeatedly admitted that gaining access to Venezuela's oil was a key reason why the U.S. attacked Venezuela Saturday and kidnapped President Nicolas Maduro and his wife, Celia Flores. On Monday, Maduro and his wife pleaded not guilty to federal charges in a New York courtroom. Venezuela has the world's largest oil reserves. This is part of what President Trump said on Saturday from Mar-a-Lago.
The oil companies are going to go in. They're going to spend money. We're going to take back the oil that, frankly, we should have taken back a long time ago.
On Sunday, Trump told reporters aboard Air Force One he'd briefed oil executives ahead of the attack on Venezuela, something he did not do for members of Congress.
Spoken with the oil companies about going into Venezuela?
I have.
Which ones? Have you received any commitments?
All of them, yes.
Any commitments from the oil companies?
We want to go in so badly.
Did you speak with them before the operation took place did you maybe tip them off about what was coming?
Before and after. And they want to go in, and they're going to do a great job for the people of Venezuela. and they're going to represent us well.
On Monday, oil company stocks surged in value. Paul Singer, a billionaire who's a top donor to President Trump, is set to profit immensely since his investment firm purchased Citgo, the U.S.-based subsidiary Venezuela's state-owned oil company, for $5.9 billion. The Venezuelan government estimates Citgo's value at $18 billion. On Monday, the United Nations Security Council held an emergency meeting on the U.S. attack. Venezuela's ambassador to the UN, Samuel Moncada, said Venezuela's targeted due to oil and energy resources.
Venezuela es víctima de estos ataques por razón de sus riquezas naturales.
Venezuela is a victim of these attacks as a result of its natural wealth. Oil, energy, strategic resources, and the geopolitical position of our country have historically been factors of greed and external pressure. When the use of force is used to control resources, impose governments, or redesign states, we are faced with the logic that refers to the worst practices of colonialism and neocolonialism. Accepting this logic implies opening the door to a profoundly unstable world, where countries with greater military capabilities can decide by force the political and economic destiny of other states.
Joining us now is Mehdi Hasan, editor-in-chief and CEO of Zeteo. Thanks so much for joining us again, Mehdi. Why don't you start off with the title of your piece? It's all about the oil, stupid. Or to be exact, yep, it's all about the oil. Talk about what happened, your response to the abduction of the Venezuelan president and his wife, the charging yesterday, what the Trump administration has said he is guilty of doing, actually didn't jive exactly with what he was charged with. But then what all this means as Trump talks about narco-trafficking. Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Venezuela's deposed president, Nicolas Maduro, appeared in federal court Manhattan Monday, where he pleaded not guilty to 4 criminal counts, including narco-terrorism, conspiracy, cocaine importation, and conspiracy in possession of machine guns and destructive devices. If convicted, each charge carries a maximum sentence of life in prison. During his arraignment, Maduro declared, "I'm not guilty. I'm a decent man. I remain the president of my country," Maduro said. In charging documents, prosecutors abandoned the Justice Department's prior claim that Maduro is head of a drug cartel called Cartel de los Soles. In fact, no such organization exists. It's a Venezuelan slang term dating to the 1990s, referring to public officials who are corrupted by drug money. Meanwhile, Maduro's wife, Celia Flores, pleaded not guilty to the 3 criminal counts she faces. She appeared with bandages on her temple and forehead. Her lawyer says she suffered significant injuries, including a possible rib fracture as she was abducted by a U.S. Army Delta Force team in a pre-dawn raid on the presidential residence in Caracas early Saturday. Venezuelan officials say the U.S. assault caused at least 80 deaths. In Caracas, Venezuela's Vice President Delcy Rodriguez was formally sworn in as interim president Monday. On Saturday, Rodriguez was initially defiant in her condemnation of the Trump administration's assault, calling it barbaric and a violation of Venezuelan sovereignty. But during a cabinet meeting Monday, Rodriguez continued with a more conciliatory tone, saying her government would engage in some cooperation with the U.S. This comes after President Trump threatened her in an interview with The Atlantic magazine, saying, quote, "If she doesn't do what's right, she's going to pay a very big price, probably bigger than Maduro," Trump said. The United States faced widespread condemnation from members of the United Nations Security Council, who convened an emergency session in New York Monday to discuss the U.S. attack on Venezuela. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres told ambassadors there must be respect for national sovereignty, political independence, and territorial integrity, after warning the U.S. had set a dangerous precedent for the world order. U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations Mike Waltz defended the Trump administration's actions as a legitimate law enforcement operation, unquote. Condemning the attacks as a violation of the UN Charter were Brazil, China, Colombia, Cuba, Eritrea, Mexico, Russia, South Africa, and Spain. This is Venezuela's ambassador to the United Nations, Samuel Moncada.
Allowing such acts to go without an effective answer would amount to normalizing the replacement of law by might, while eroding the very foundations of the collective security system. Today, it is not only the sovereignty of Venezuela at stake. At stake is the credibility of international law, as is the authority of this organization, as well as the principle that no state can appoint itself as judge and enforcer of the world order.
Meanwhile, demonstrators rallied outside the federal courthouse in Manhattan, where Nicolas Maduro and his wife, Celia Flores, were being arraigned on Monday, protesting both for and against his detention by the United States. The protests were among dozens held around the U.S. since Maduro's abduction. In Michigan, anti-war demonstrators took to the streets of downtown Grand Rapids Saturday afternoon. Protest organizer Jessica Plichta spoke with local ABC affiliate WZZM.
We want to stop war with Venezuela. We want to end all U.S. wars. We don't want boots on the ground in Venezuela. We don't want to fight Venezuela for oil. We don't want our friends and families to be sent to Venezuela and be killed for oil.
As Plichta concluded her interview, 2 police officers appeared behind her on camera and arrested her. She's been charged with obstructing a roadway and failure to obey a lawful command from an officer during the protest. President Trump tipped off oil executives roughly a month before the U.S. kidnapped Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. That's according to reporting by the Wall Street Journal. Speaking to reporters on Air Force One Sunday, President Trump said he'd spoken to oil executives before and after the U.S. attack on Venezuela, but he did not inform Congress. Paul Singer, a billionaire who's a top donor to President Trump, is set to profit immensely since his investment firm purchased Citgo, the U.S.-based subsidiary of Venezuela's state-owned oil company, for $5.9 billion. The Venezuelan government estimates Citgo's value at $18 billion. Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado said Monday she plans to return to Venezuela as soon as possible. She made the comment in an interview with Fox News' Sean Hannity, where she heaped praise on President Trump, offering to share her Nobel Peace Prize with him. Her comments came after Trump dismissed the idea of installing her as Venezuela's leader, saying, quote, she doesn't have the support within or respect within the country, unquote. The Washington Post reports Trump's refusal to support Machado stemmed from her decision to accept the Nobel Peace Prize. One source told the Washington Post, quote, if she turned it down and said, I can't accept it because it's Donald Trump, she'd be president of Venezuela today, unquote. Meanwhile, the U.S. Senate is set to debate a war powers resolution Thursday that would bar U.S. military action against Venezuela without congressional authorization. Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen warned that if the United States were to try to take over Greenland, it would spell the end of NATO. He told the Danish state broadcaster, quote, if the United States chooses to attack another NATO country militarily, then everything stops, unquote. Her comments come as President Trump has repeatedly threatened to use military force to take over the autonomous Danish territory, telling reporters on Sunday, quote, we need Greenland from the standpoint of national security, and Denmark is not going to be able to do it, unquote. Greenland's Prime Minister, Jens Frederik Nielsen, posted on social media, quote, our country's not an object in the rhetoric of a superpower. We are a people, a country, a democracy. That must be respected, especially by close and loyal friends, unquote. Speaking to CNN, U.S. Homeland Security Advisor, Presidential Advisor Stephen Miller asserted the U.S. has the right to take over Greenland.
The United States should have Greenland as part of the United States. There's no need to even think or talk about this in the context that you're asking of a military operation. Nobody's going to fight the United States militarily over the future of Greenland.
Israel launched airstrikes in southern and eastern Lebanon, claiming to target Hezbollah and Hamas infrastructure. Lebanon's health ministry said a drone strike on a car in the south of Lebanon Monday wounded 2 people. Israel's continued its attacks in Lebanon despite a U.S.-brokered ceasefire between Hezbollah and Israel back in 2024. Meanwhile, in Gaza, Israeli forces hit a tent housing displaced people in the El Mawasi area northwest of Khan Yunis, killing a 5-year-old girl and her uncle and wounding 2 other children. Israeli forces also shot a child in the head in Beit Lahia in northern Gaza, close to the yellow line that separates Israeli-controlled areas from the rest of Gaza. The U.S. has dropped the number of vaccines it recommends for every child, going from 17 to 11 routine vaccines. Vaccines like flu, rotavirus, hepatitis A and B, RSV, and some meningitis shots are no longer broadly recommended for all children. Instead, those vaccines are only recommended for certain groups deemed high risk. Epidemiologist Michael Osterholm of the Vaccine Integrity Project said, quote, abandoning recommendations for vaccines that prevent influenza, hepatitis, and rotavirus, and changing the recommendation for HPV without a public process to weigh the risks and benefits will lead to more hospitalizations and preventable deaths among American children, he said. Republican Senator Bill Cassidy, a physician who voted for Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s confirmation as Health and Human Services Secretary, sharply criticized the new vaccine schedule, saying it's based on, quote, no scientific input, unquote. It comes as new U.S. flu cases surged over the holidays, already surpassing the flu epidemic of last winter, which was one of the harshest in recent years. The CDC estimates at least 11 million flu illnesses, 120,000 hospitalizations, and 5,000 deaths this season. Democratic lawmakers are demanding House Speaker Mike Johnson unveil a plaque honoring police officers who defended the Capitol against a violent mob seeking to overturn the 2020 election 5 years ago today, January 6, 2021. The plaque was commissioned by Congress in 2022 and was required by law to be installed by March 2023. But it remains in a Capitol basement utility room as Republican leaders continue to block its display. Ahead of today's anniversary, Democrats on the House Judiciary Committee released 2 new reports on the aftermath of the January 6th attack. They found at least 33 pardoned January 6th defendants have since been charged, arrested, or convicted of new crimes. Congressmember Jamie Raskin said the pardons had created a, quote, private militia of proven street fighters that represent a nightmare for American public safety, he said. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has formally censured Democratic Senator, Navy veteran Mark Kelly over a video in which Kelly, along with 5 other Democratic lawmakers, urged service members to refuse unlawful orders. At the time, President Trump had called for the Democrats to be put to death. The Pentagon's now starting administrative steps to reduce Kelly's rank, citing what it calls reckless misconduct. This would affect Kelly's status as a retired Navy captain and cut his military pension. Senator Kelly blasted Secretary Hegseth, saying, quote, if Pete Hegseth, the most unqualified Secretary of Defense in our country's history, thinks he can intimidate me with a censure or threats to demote me or prosecute me, he still doesn't get it. I'll fight this with everything I've got, not for myself, but to send a message back that Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump don't get to decide what Americans in this country get to say about their government, Senator Kelly said. And the Trump administration's deployed 2,000 ICE agents to Minneapolis to probe alleged cases of fraud at child care facilities. U.S. Customs and Border Protection Commander Gregory Bavino, who's overseeing controversial immigration roundups in Los Angeles, Chicago, Charlotte, and New Orleans, is expected to arrive in Minnesota. It comes as federal health officials announced they were freezing funding under the Child Care Assistance Program to all states. Meanwhile, Democratic Governor Tim Walz announced on Monday he's dropping his bid for a 3rd term as governor in order to focus on rooting out fraud in Minnesota's public assistance and social services programs.
Every minute that I spend defending my own political interest would be a minute I can't spend defending the people of Minnesota against the criminals who prey on our generosity and the cynics who want to prey on our differences. So I've decided to step out of this race, and I'll let others worry about the election while I focus on the work that's in front of me for the next year.
And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy.
Willie mentioned Greenland. The White House says President Trump is discussing a range of options to obtain that island. In a statement yesterday, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt wrote in part, President Trump has made it well known that acquiring Greenland is a national security priority of the United States. Utilizing the U.S. military is always an option at the commander-in-chief's disposal. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, meanwhile, told lawmakers on Monday that recent threats toward Greenland do not signal an imminent invasion. That's according to new reporting from the Wall Street Journal. Rubio's comments came during a closed-door briefing with the Secretary of State explaining that the Trump administration's goal is to buy the island from Denmark. The paper reports that Rubio's remarks were in response to Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer asking if the administration was planning to use military force in other places, including Mexico and Greenland. Rubio played down the idea that the United States could seize Greenland by force, according to people familiar with the briefing. The Journal also notes that U.S. and European officials say they have seen no signs of the White House preparing a military invasion of Greenland. Meanwhile, European leaders yesterday showed support for Greenland, releasing a joint statement saying the island belongs to its people and stressing that security in the Arctic must be achieved collectively with NATO allies, including the United States. It comes after Denmark's prime minister on Monday warned that an American takeover of Greenland would amount to the end of NATO.
The Wall Street Journal's editorial board is writing about this morning in a piece titled Invade Greenland? Why? The piece writes, the invasion talk is probably Trumpian bluster to prod a negotiation to buy the island or end up with some other expanded U.S. presence. But even the suggestion of force is damaging America's interest across the Atlantic. Danish Prime Minister Frederiksen was candid that, quote, if the United States chooses to attack another NATO country militarily, then everything will come to an end, including NATO. The truth of that statement is what makes military action for Mr. Trump hard to take seriously. But feuding with friends over Greenland is giving Vladimir Putin another wedge to divide America from Europe to his benefit. That means less U.S. leverage for driving a good and durable Ukraine settlement. Maybe the Greenland affair is merely what now passes for online MAGA entertainment. But Mr. Trump would help his own cause in every hemisphere if he dropped the invade Greenland routine. That's the Wall Street Journal's editorial board. Joe, as many people have pointed out, if you want a bigger base, we already have one on Greenland.
Right.
Denmark says, go for it. You want another base on Greenland?
Right.
Go for it, says Denmark. It's unnecessary to threaten them with military force rather than to talk to them, to negotiate with them, or even to attempt to buy the island.
No, it's insanity. And the fact is that they are good NATO partners of ours. So you can't even claim that it's damaging to America's national security interest because, well, they're our NATO ally. So it is, and the White House yesterday, John, saying that invading Greenland has always been an option. No, it's not an option unless you are absolutely insane, unless you want to turn your back on what the United States of America has been doing since 1945, which has created. Let me say this again for idiots out there that say, oh, well, America's been suckers. No. Everything we've set up, the world order that we set up starting in